talks with Cardinal Gibbons. Have I met him yet?
No, dear, not yet. Are the biscuits good?
Oh, boy!
Will you have another biscuit, Dr. Harper?
Oh, no, I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam.
I do hope they don't make us use that imitation flour again. Why, I mean with this poor trouble. It may not be being very charitable of me, but I've almost come to the conclusion that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian.
If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, sir?
Yes, Teddy.
Point your guns the other way.
Guns?
Teddy.
To the west. There's your enemy. There's your danger. Japan.
Why, yes. Yes, of course.
Teddy.
Now, Aunt Abby, not so much this talk of Europe, and more about the canal.
Well, let's not talk about war. Will you have another cup of tea, dear?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Dr. Harper?
No, thank you. I must admit, war and violence seem far removed from these surroundings.
It is peaceful here, isn't it? It's one of the oldest homes in Brooklyn, just as it was when Grandfather Brewster built and furnished it, except for the electricity, and we use it as little as possible. It was Mortimer who persuaded us to put it in.
Yes, I can understand that. Your nephew Mortimer seems to live only by electric light.
The poor boy has to work so late. I understand he's taking Elaine with him to the theater again tonight. Teddy, your brother Mortimer will be here a little later.
Oh, delighted!
We're so glad to see Elaine Mortimer takes to the theater with him.
Well, it's a new experience for me to have to wait up until 3 in the morning for my daughter to be brought home.
Oh, Dr. Harper, we do hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well,
We'd feel so guilty if you did, Sister Martha and I. I mean, since it was in our home that your daughter met Mortimer.
of course, Miss Abby, and so I'll say immediately that I believe Mortimer himself to be quite a worthy gentleman. But I must also admit that I have seen the growing intimacy between him and my daughter, and I've watched it with some trepidation. For one reason, Miss Abby.
You mean his stomach, Dr. Harper?
His stomach?
His dyspepsia. He's bothered with it so, poor boy.
No, Miss Abby, I'll be frank with you. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater.
The theater? Oh, no, Dr. Harper. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper.
But a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theater, and some of them do develop an interest in it.
Well, not Mortimer. You need have no fear of that. Why, Mortimer hates the theater.
Really?
Yes, he writes awful things about the theater.
Indeed.
But as he says, theater can't go on much longer anyway, and in the meantime, it's a living. Yes, I think if we give the theater another year or two, perhaps. Well, who do you suppose that? No, thank you, Teddy. I'll go. Come in, Mr. Brophy.
Hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Mr. Klein?
Very well, Miss Brewster.
What news have you brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Oh, splendid. Thank you, gentlemen. Eddie!
You know Dr. Harper.
Sure. Hello, Dr. Harper. We've come for the toys for the Christmas fund.
Oh, yes.
That's splendid work you men do, fixing up the starter toys to give poor children a happier Christmas.
It gives us something to do while we're sitting around at the station. You get tired of playing cards, and then when you start to clean your gun, the first thing you know, you shot yourself in the foot.
Teddy, go upstairs and get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room. How is Mrs. Brophy today? Mrs. Brophy has been quite ill, Dr. Harper.
Pneumonia.
Charge!
Well, she's better now. A little weak still.
I'm going to go get you some beef broth to take to her.
Don't bother, Miss Ed. You've done so much for her already.
We made it this morning. Sister Martha is taking some to poor Mr. Vanetsky right now. I won't be a minute. Sit down and be comfortable all.
She shouldn't go to all that trouble. Listen, try and stop her or her sister from doing something nice, and for nothing.
When I received my call to Brooklyn and moved next door, my wife wasn't well. When she died, and for months before, well, if I know what pure kindness and absolute generosity are, it's because I've known the Brewster sisters.
Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I must call a meeting of my cabinet to get the release for those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyway.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
Suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he damn shame. Nice family like this, hatching a cuckoo. Well, his father, the old girl's brother, was some sort of genius, wasn't he? And their father, Teddy's grandfather, seems to me I've heard he was a little crazy, too. Yeah, he was crazy like a fox. He made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. He was a quack of some sort. Old Sergeant Edwards remembers him. He was a host here as a sort of clinic. Tried him out on people. Yeah, I hear that he occasionally made mistakes, too. Yeah, we never really bothered much with that. He's pretty useful in autopsy cases sometimes, especially the poison ones. Well, whatever he did, he left his daughter's face for life. Thank God for that. Not that they ever spend any of their money on themselves.
Yes, I'm well acquainted with their charities.
You don't know a tenth of it. When I was working for the Missing Persons Bureau, we were trying to trace a man that we never did find. Did you know that there's a renting agency that has this house down on its list for furnished rooms? They don't rent rooms. But you can bet that anybody who comes here looking for a room goes away with a good meal and a few dollars in their pocket. Yeah, I guess it's just their way of digging up people to help out.
Well, now, isn't this nice?
Hello, Miss Brewster.
How do you do, Mr. Brophy, Dr. Harper, Mr. Klein?
How are you, Miss Brewster? We dropped by to get the Christmas toys.
Ah, yes, Teddy's Army and Navy. They wear out. They're all packed.
Oh, the colonel's upstairs after them. It seems the cabinet has to okay it.
Yes, of course. And how is Mrs. Brophy?
Oh, she's doing fine, ma'am. Your sister's getting me some soup to take to her.
Ah, yes, we made it this morning. I just took some to a poor man who broke ever so many bones. Oh, Martha, you're back. How is Mr. Bennett? It's very serious, I'm afraid, dear. The doctor was there. He's going to have to amputate in the morning. Can we be present? No, I asked him, but he says it's against the hospital's regulations.
You couldn't be of any service, and you must spare yourself something.
Well, here's the broth, Mr. Brophy. Be sure it's good and hot.
Yes, ma'am. This will do just fine. That O'Malley boy is nuts about soldiers.
Oh, that's General Miles. I retired him. What's this? The Oregon?
Teddy, dear, put it back.
Oh, but the Oregon goes to Australia.
Teddy.
No, I've given my word to Fighting Bob Evans.
But Teddy.
What's the difference what kid gets it? Bobby Evans, Izzy Cohen. Well, we'll be running along, ma'am. Thank you.
Not at all. Goodbye.
Well, I'd better be getting home.
Before you go, Dr. Harper.
Charge! Charge the blockhouse!
Blockhouse?
The stairs are always San Juan Hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him that he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no. No, he's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt. And we'd so much rather him be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody.
Well, if he's happy, and what's more important, you're happy. You'll see that he signs these.
What are they? Dr. Harper has made all the arrangements for Teddy to go to Happydale Sanitarium after we pass on. But why should Teddy sign any papers now?
It's better to have it all settled. If the Lord should take you away suddenly, perhaps we couldn't get Teddy to commit himself, and that would mean an unpleasant legal procedure. Mr. Witherspoon understands they're to be filed away until the time comes to use them.
Mr. Witherspoon, who's he?
He's the superintendent of Happydale.
Dr. Harper's arranged for him to drop by tomorrow or the next day to meet Teddy.
Well, I'd better be getting home, or Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Give our love to Elaine, Dr. Harper. Did you just have tea? Isn't it rather late? Yes, and dinner's going to be late too. So, why? Teddy, good news for you. You're going to Panama to dig another lock for the canal.
Oh, delighted! That's bully, just bully. I shall prepare at once for the journey. Charge!
Abby, while I was out? Yes, dear. I just couldn't wait for you. I didn't know when you'd be back, and Dr. Harper was coming. But all by yourself? Oh, I got along fine. I'll run right downstairs and see. Oh, no, there wasn't time, and I was all alone. Well, Martha, just look in the window, see.
ought to know better. When a gentleman is taking a lady out, he should call for her at her house.
Oh, there's something about calling for a girl at a parsonage that discourages any man who doesn't embroider.
We're going to speak to him.
Please don't. After men whose idea of nightlife was taking me to prayer meeting, it's wonderful to go to the theater almost every night of my life.
It's comforting for us too, dear, because if Mortimer has to see some of the plays he has to see, at least he's sitting next to a minister's daughter.
My goodness, Elaine, what you must think of us, not having tea cleared away by this time.
Well, Father must have been surprised not to find me at home. I'll go home and say goodnight to him. If Mortimer comes, you tell him I'll be right back. Hello, Mort.
Why, hello, Elaine.
Abby, Mortimer's here.
You weren't going somewhere, were you?
I was just going over to tell Father please not to wait up for me tonight.
I didn't know that was still being done, even in Brooklyn.
Hello, Mortimer.
Why, hello, Aunt Dappy.
How are you, dear?
I'm fine, and you haven't changed much since yesterday.
My goodness, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Why, they've been saying a great deal of you lately. Well, come, sit down, sit down.
Abby, haven't we something to do in the kitchen?
Huh?
You know, the tea thing.
Oh, the tea things. Well, you two just make yourselves at home.
Just make yourselves at home.
Well, can't you take a hint?
No, that was pretty obvious. A lack of inventiveness, I should say.
Yes, that's exactly what you'd say.
Well, where do you want to go for dinner?
I don't care, I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose you wait till after the show?
Is it a musical?
No.
Oh, I was hoping it was a musical.
You have such a light mind.
Not a bit. Musicals somehow have a humanizing effect on you. After a musical, you take me home in a taxi, and you make a few passes.
Well, that's a very inaccurate report there, darling.
Oh, I will admit, after the Fairman play, you told me I had authentic beauty. And that's a hell of a thing to say to a girl. But it wasn't until after our first musical you told me I had nice legs. And I have, too.
For a minister's daughter, you know a lot about life. Where'd you learn it?
In the choir loft. I'd better tell Father, please not to wait up for me tonight.
I've never been able to rationalize that.
What?
My falling in love with a girl who lives in Brooklyn.
Falling in love?
The only way I can regain my self-respect is to keep you in New York.
Did you say keep?
No. I've come to the conclusion that you're holding out for the legalities.
I can afford to be a good girl for quite a few years yet.
And I can't wait that long. Where can we be buried in a hurry? Say, tonight.
No, darling, don't pretend you love me that much.
I think you better tell your father not to wait up tonight.
I think tonight I'd better tell him to wait up.
All right, everything formal and legal, but not later than next month.
Darling, let's talk to Father and set the date.
Hello, Mortimer.
Why, how are you, Mr. President?
Oh, bully, just bully. What news do you have for me?
Just this, Mr. President. The country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye. Goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama.
Panama's the cellar. He digs locks down there for the canal.
You're so sweet with him, and he's very fond of you.
Well, Teddy was always my favorite brother.
Favorite? Were there more of you?
Yes, there's another brother, Jonathan.
I never heard of him. Your aunts never mentioned him.
No, we don't like to talk about Jonathan. He left Brooklyn by request, very early. He was the kind of boy who liked to cut worms in two, with his teeth.
What became of him?
I don't know. He wanted to become a surgeon like grandfather, but his practices got him into a lot of trouble.
Aren't you two going to be late for the theater?
Oh no, we're not starting for half an hour. We're skipping dinner.
Well, I'll just leave you two alone together again.
Don't bother, darling. I was just going over to tell Father, please not to wait up for me tonight. Before I go out with you, he likes to pray over me a little.
Well, if the prayer isn't too long, I'd have time to lead you beside distilled waters.
Mortimer, that's the first time I've ever heard you quote the Bible. We do, Elaine.
By the way, we're getting married.
Oh, darling! Martha! Come right in here.
hanging over those gravestones. Say, what is that?
What's what, dear?
See that statue there? That's a Horrendina Carnina.
Oh, no, dear. That's Emma B. Stark ascending to heaven.
No, standing on Mrs. Stout's left ear. See that bird there? That's a right-crested swallow. I've only seen one of those before in my life.
I don't know how you can be thinking about a bird now. What with the late in the engagement and everything.
It's a vanishing species. Thoreau is very fond of them. Oh, by the way, I left a large envelope around here last week. It contained one of my chapters on Thoreau. Have you seen it?
Well, if you left it here, it must be here somewhere.
When are you going to be married? What are your plans? There must be something more you can tell us about Elaine.
Elaine? Oh, yes, Elaine. She thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, when Elaine comes back, I think we ought to have a little celebration. Martha, isn't there some of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
And I'll open a bottle of wine.
And to think, it happened in this room.
Now, where could I have put that?
Well, with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight, I do hope the play will be something you can enjoy for once. It may be something romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh, dear.
Yes, the first thing you'll see when the curtain goes up is a dead body. Aunt Tabby! You were making plans for Teddy to go to that sanitarium in Happydale.
Yes, dear, it's all arranged. Dr. Harper dropped by today and brought the papers for Teddy to sign. Here they are.
He's got to sign them right away.
Well, that's what Dr. Harper thinks. Then there won't be any legal difficulties after we pass on.
He's down in the cellar. Get him up here right away.
There's no such hurry as that, dear.
No, when he starts work on the canal, you can't get his mind on anything else.
Teddy's got to go to Happydale tonight.
My Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? Why, as long as we live, we'll never be separated from Teddy.
I'm frightfully sorry, darlings, but I have some shocking news for you. You know, we sort of humored Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Why, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he has to be confined.
Why, Mortimer, why have you suddenly turned against Teddy, your own brother?
Well, you ought to know sometime. You might as well know now. Teddy's killed a man.
Nonsense, dear.
But there's a body in the window seat.
Yes, dear, we know.
You know?
Yes, of course, dear. And it has nothing to do with Teddy.
Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
Forget?
We never dreamed you'd peep.
But who is he?
His name's Hoskins, Adam Hoskins. That's really all I know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
That's all you know about him? Well, how'd he get in there? What happened to him?
He died.
Aunt Martha, men just do not crawl into window seats and die.
No, he died first.
But how?
Oh, Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
Well, how'd the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
Yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
Oh, so you knew what you did. You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, not at tea. That wouldn't be very nice. Now, Mortimer, just forget about the whole thing. I do think Martha and I have the right to our own little secrets.
And don't you tell Elaine. Abby, while I was out, I dropped in on Mrs. Schultz. She's doing so much better. But she would like us to take Junior out again.
Well, we must do that tomorrow or next day.
Yes, but this time we'll go someplace we want to go. I will not let Junior drag me into another one of those scary pictures.
Hello, city desk. Hello, Al. Do you know who this is? Yeah, that's right. Say, when I left the office, I told you where I was going, right? Do you remember? Mm-hmm. Well, it'd take me about a half an hour to get to Brooklyn. What time have you got? Uh-huh. I must be there. Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, come in here. What are we gonna do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
dear?
The body in the window seat.
Mr. Hoskins.
Yes. Well, we just can't leave him in there.
We don't intend to, dear. Teddy's down at Panama digging lots.
Oh, so you're gonna bury him down in the cellar?
Yes, of course, dear. That's what we did with the others.
No, you cannot bury Mr. Others?
The other gentleman.
When you say others, do you mean others as in more than one others?
Well, yes, dear. Let's see. This makes 11 now, isn't it, Abby?
No, dear, this makes 12.
No, I think you're wrong, Abby. I think this is only 11.
No, because when Mr. Hoskins first came in, it occurred to me that you would make just an even dozen.
Well, you really should count the first one.
Oh, I was counting the first one, so that makes it 12.
Hello! Hello! Oh, Helen, my, it's good to hear your voice.
Anyway, they're all down in the cellar.
Yeah, Al? Hey, get a hold of George. I can't cover the plate tonight. Okay, well, just get a hold of him. Uh-huh. Now, let's see, where were we? 12?
Yes, dear. Abby thinks we ought to count the first one, and that makes 12.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Who was the first one?
Mr. Midgley, he was a Baptist.
And I still think we shouldn't count him, because he just died.
Martha means without any help from us. You see, Mr. Midgley came here looking for a room.
It was right after you moved to New York.
And it seemed wrong for that lovely room to be going to waste when there was so many people who needed it.
He was such a lonely old man.
All his kith and kin were dead, and it left him so forlorn and unhappy.
And we felt so sorry for him.
And then, when his heart attack came, and he sat dead in that chair, looking so peaceful, remember, Martha, we decided then and there that if we could help other lonely old men to that same peace, we would.
He dropped dead right there in that chair? How awful for you.
Oh, no, dear. It was rather like old times. Your grandfather always used to have a cadaver or two around the house. And Teddy had been digging lots in Panama, and he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
That meant he had to be buried immediately.
So we all took him down to Panama. Now you see, dear, that's why we told you not to worry, because we know what's to be done.
Oh, so this is how this all started. This man walking in here and just dropping dead.
Of course, we realized we couldn't depend on that happening again, so,
Well, those are the poisons that have been up on the shelves of Grandfather's laboratory all these years.
you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. You've eaten enough of her pickle lily.
Well, you see, dear, for 1 gallon of elderberry wine, we take 1 teaspoon of arsenic, half a teaspoon of strychnine, and just a pinch of cyanide.
Man, should have quite a kick.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of our gentlemen found time to say how delicious.
Well, I think I'll go start dinner.
I wish you could stay for dinner.
I'm trying out a new recipe.
No. I couldn't eat a thing.
I'll be there in a minute to help you, dear. Well, I feel so much better now. Oh, you have to wait for Elaine, don't you? How happy you must be. Well, I'll leave you alone with your thoughts.
Oh, it's you.
Don't be cross, darling. Father could see I was excited.
Elaine, something's come up. You've got to go home.
What, darling? Mortimer, you've lost your job.
No. I'm just not covering that plate tonight. Now, Elaine, you run along home and I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow? But we're going to the theater tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, why not?
I can't tell you.
But I've got to know what's happened. Certainly you can tell me.
No, I can't.
But if we're going to be married,
Married?
have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yes. Well, as far as I know, that's still on. No, you run along.
Listen, you can't propose to me 1 minute and throw me out of the house the next.
I'm not throwing you out. Now, will you please leave and I'll call you up tomorrow.
No, I won't. Not until I know what's happened.
Elaine! look, Al, can it hold on a minute? Look, Elaine, I love you, and you're a very sweet girl. But I've got something on my mind now. So you run along home, and I'll call you tomorrow.
Don't try to be masterful.
When we're married, I hope you're less tedious and uninspired.
And when we're married, if we're married, I hope I find you adequate.
Elaine! Elaine! Hello, Al? Hello, Al! Al!
That's the
Hello?
doorbell, dear, not the telephone.
Oh,
How do you do?
I'm just getting a room to rent.
Yes, won't you step in?
Are you the lady of the house?
Yes, I'm Miss Brewster, and this is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name is Gibbs.
I'm sorry, we were just setting the table for dinner. Won't you sit down?
hey, city desk. Let me talk to Al again. Al, city desk. What? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong number.
May I see the room?
Won't you sit down and let's get acquainted?
That won't do much good if I don't like the room.
Is Brooklyn your home?
Haven't got a home. Live in a hotel. Don't like it.
Are your family Brooklyn people?
Haven't got any family.
All alone in the world?
Yep.
Well, Martha, you come in just the right time. Do sit down.
Hello, city desk. Al.
What church do you go to? There's an Episcopal church right next door, practically.
I'm Presbyterian. Used to be.
What's George doing down in Bermuda? Well, certainly I told him he could go to Bermuda. It's my department. I'm running it. Well, you find somebody around the office.
Is there always this much noise?
Oh, he doesn't live with us.
Hey, look, what about the office boy? The bright one? The one we don't like? Okay, fine. You find somebody around the office, I'll hold.
I'd really like to see the room.
It's upstairs. Won't you try a glass of our wine before we start out?
It's elderberry wine. We make it ourselves.
Never touch it.
But it is elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine. Haven't had elderberry wine since I was a boy. Thank you.
Hey, what about the guy who sets my copies? His name is Joel. He's the third machine from the left. All right, I'll hold on.
Do you have your own elderberry bushes?
No, but the cemetery is full of them.
No, I'm not drinking, but I'm going to start now.
Do you serve meals?
We might, but first just see whether you like our wine.
Mortimer!
Mortimer, not that!
Oh, hey, do you want to be killed? Do you want to be murdered? Get out of here. You drink that, you'll be murdered. Get!
Now you spoiled everything.
Now, you can't go around doing that. He wouldn't understand.
Abby, we should have just told Mortimer.
What I mean is, this is getting a little out of hand.
Mortimer, we don't try to stop you from doing things you like to do. I don't see why you should interfere with us.
Hello. All right, I'll see the first act and I'll pan the hell out of it. But get a hold of O'Brien, our lawyers. Have him meet me at the theater. Okay, I'm starting now. Listen, I've got to go to the theater, but will you promise me this little thing?
We'd have to know what it was first.
No, I love you two very much, and I would just like you to do this small thing for me.
What do you want us to do?
Don't do anything. Don't let anyone in this house until I get back.
But we're going to take Mr. Hoskins down to Panama and hold services.
Services?
Well, of course. You don't think we'd bury Mr. Hoskins without a full Methodist service, do you? Why, he was a Methodist.
But can it wait until I get back?
Oh, then you can join us.
Yes.
Oh, Mortimer, you'll enjoy the services, especially the hymns. Remember how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
And remember, you're not going to let anyone in this house until I get back.
Well,
Oh, Martha, we can do that now that Mortimer's cooperating with us. Well, all right, Mortimer.
Mortimer, no, that's Mr. Hoskins' hat.
Oh!
Elaine, and their honeymoon on Skip Road for a real vacation. I don't think he got much rest this summer. Abby, if Mortimer's coming to the services, we'll need another hymnal. There's one up in my room.
You know, dear, it's really my turn to read the services, but since you weren't here when Mr. Hoskins came, I want you to do it.
Oh, thank you. But are you sure?
It's only fair.
I'm going to go get Mother's old grove.
I'll go here.
But Abby, we told Mortimer we wouldn't let anybody in.
Who do you suppose did?
Just a minute, I'll look. It's two men, and I've never seen them before.
Are you sure?
There's a car parked out by the curb. Maybe they came in that.
Let me look.
Do you recognize them?
They're strangers to me.
Then we'll just have to pretend we're not home.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth. As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape this place. Now I can't wait to escape back into it.
Yeah, Johnny, it's a fine hideout.
The family must still live here. There's something so unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Look, Johnny, drink.
As though we were expecting a good omen.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Why, Aunt Abby and Martha, it's Jonathan.
You get out of here.
I'm your nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, no, you're not.
And this is Dr. Einstein.
And he's no Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
Who are you? You're not our nephew, Jonathan.
I see you're still wearing the garnet ring that Grandmother Brewster bought you in England. And you, Aunt Martha, still the high collar to hide the scar where Grandfather's acid burned you?
His voice is like Jonathan's.
Have you been in an accident?
No, my face. Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He changes people's faces. He's a plastic surgeon.
But, Abby, I remember that face. Remember when we took the little Schultz boy to the movies, and I was so scared? It was that face.
Easy, Johnny. Don't worry, lady. The last 5 years I gave Johnny 3 new faces. This last face, well, I saw that movie too, just before I operated, and I was intoxicated.
You see, Doctor, you see what you've done to me, even my own family.
Now, Johnny, you're home in this lovely house. How often he tells me about Brooklyn, about this house, about his aunt that he loves so much. They know you, Johnny. You know it's Jonathan. Speak to him. Tell him so.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a long time. Where have you been all these years?
Yes, Jonathan, what have you been doing?
Oh, England, South Africa, Australia. The past 5 years in Chicago. Dr. Einstein and I were in business there together.
Oh, we were in Chicago for the World's Fair.
Yes, we found it awfully warm.
Yeah, it got hot for us too.
Well, it's wonderful to be in Brooklyn again. And you, Abby, Martha, still the way I remember you. Sweet, charming, hospitable. And dear Teddy, did he get into politics? My brother Teddy, Doctor, was determined to become the president.
Oh, Teddy's fine. And Mortimer's well, too.
I know about Mortimer. I see his picture at the head of his column. He's obviously fulfilled all the promise of his early nasty nature.
We're very fond of Mortimer.
Well, Jonathan, it's nice to have seen you.
Bless you, Aunt Martha. It's good to be home again.
Well, Martha, we mustn't let what's on the stove boil over.
Oh, yes, excuse us for a minute, Jonathan, unless you have someplace to go.
Well, Johnny, where do we go from here? The police have got pictures of that face. I gotta operate on you right away. And we gotta find a place for Mr. Spinello, too.
Forget Spinalzo!
But you can't leave a dead body in the rumble seat. You shouldn't have killed him, Johnny. He's a nice fella. He gives us a ride, and what happened?
He said I looked like Boris Karloff. That's your work, Doctor.
Now, Johnny, I fixed you up quick.
Tonight.
Johnny, I gotta eat first. I'm hungry. I'm beat.
Well,
Aunt Abby, I can't say that your feelings toward me come as a great surprise. I've spent a great many hours realizing the many a heartache I must have caused you and Aunt Martha as a boy.
You were quite a child to us, Jonathan.
My only great disappointment is for Dr. Einstein. You see, I promised him that no matter how rushed we were in the passing through Brooklyn, that he would get to taste at least one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
Oh, I'm afraid there wouldn't be enough.
But Abby, it's a pretty good sized
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay for dinner.
Well, we'll hurry it along.
Yes.
Oh, Jonathan, if you want to freshen up, you can use the washroom in Grandfather's old laboratory.
Is that still there?
Oh, yes, just as he left it. Well, I'll go help Martha with things in the kitchen, since we're all in a hurry.
Well, we get a meal anyways. The laboratory. A perfect operating room, Doctor.
Too bad we can't use it.
Why, when you're finished with me, we could make a fortune here. The laboratory, the large ward in the attic. It could hold 10 beds, Doctor. And Brooklyn is crying for your talents.
Why work yourself up, Johnny? Anyways, for Brooklyn, I think we're a year too late.
You don't know this town, Doctor. Practically everybody in Brooklyn needs a new face.
But all the old faces are locked up.
A very small percentage. And besides, the boys in Brooklyn are so well known for the large sums of money they pay to stay out of jail.
Johnny, you're honest. They don't want us here.
I'll handle it, Doctor.
Oh, that would be beautiful, Johnny. This house, those aunts of yours, I love them already. I get the banks, yeah?
Doctor, we must wait until we're invited.
But you just said that.
We'll be invited.
And if they say no?
Doctor, two helpless old women?
This night comes true a beautiful dream. Only I hope we're not dreaming. It's so peaceful.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us. It's so peaceful. In Chicago, we're amongst the busiest and happiest of my life.
And from Chicago, we go to South Bend, Indiana.
They would be interested in our business in Indiana.
Well, Jonathan, you've led a very interesting life, I'm sure, but we really shouldn't have allowed you to talk so late.
My meeting Dr. Einstein in London, I might say, changed the whole course of my life. You remember I was in South Africa in the diamond business, then Amsterdam in the diamond market. And when I wanted to go back to South Africa, Dr. Einstein made that all possible for me.
A good job, Johnny. When they take out the bandages, his face looked so different, the nurse had introduced me.
I love that face. I still carry a picture with me.
Well, this looks more the way you used to, but still I wouldn't know you.
I think we'll go back to that face, Doctor.
Yeah, it's safe now.
Well, I'm sure you both want to get to where you're going.
My dear aunts, I'm so full of that delicious dinner that I'm afraid I'm unable to move a muscle.
Yeah, it's nice here.
After late. It's very late. And
I found it! I found it!
What did you find, Teddy?
The story of my life, my biography. Here's the picture I was telling you about, General. Here's the both of us, President Roosevelt and General Goethals at the Calabria Cut. That's me, and that's you, General.
My, how I've changed.
Well, you see, this picture hasn't been taken yet. We haven't even started work on the Calabria Cut yet. We're still digging locks. And now, General, I would ask you that you accompany me in an inspection of the new lock.
No, Teddy, not to Panama.
We go some other time. Panama's a long way off.
Nonsense! It's just down in the cellar.
The cellar?
we let him dig the Panama Canal in the cellar.
General Goethals, as the President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, and the man who gave you this job, I demand that you accompany me on an inspection of the new lock.
Teddy, I think it's time you went to bed.
I beg your pardon. Who are you?
I'm Woodrow Wilson. Go to bed.
No, you're not Wilson, but you do look familiar. I may not know you now, perhaps later. Oh, on my hunting trip to Africa. You look like someone I might meet in the jungle.
It's your brother, Jonathan. He's had his face changed.
Oh, so that's it, a nature faker.
And, Teddy, perhaps you had better go to bed. Jonathan and his friend need to be getting back to their hotel.
General Coastos, inspect the canal.
All right, Mr. President. Me go to Panama.
Oh, bully, bully! Follow me, General. It's down south, you know.
Well, bon voyage.
Aunt Abby, you spoke about hotel. We have no hotel. We came directly.
Well, there's a very nice little hotel.
And Martha, this is my home.
But, Jonathan, you can't stay here. We need our rooms.
You need them?
Yes, for our lodgers.
Are there lodgers in this house?
Well, not just now, but we plan to have some.
Dr. Einstein and I need a place to stay. You remembered this afternoon that as a boy I could be very disagreeable. It would be very pleasant for anyone to
Perhaps
have.
we better let them stay here tonight.
No, just for tonight, Jonathan.
That's settled. Now if you get my room ready.
We keep it ready to show our lodgers.
You have a most distinguished guest in Dr. Einstein. I'm afraid you don't appreciate his skill. But you will. In a few weeks you'll see me looking like a very different Jonathan.
He can't operate on you here.
We're turning Grandfather's laboratory into an operating room. We expect to be quite busy.
Jonathan, we will not let you turn this house into a hospital.
A hospital? Heavens no, it will be a beauty parlor.
And Johnny, down the cellar.
Dr. Einstein, my aunts have invited us to live with them.
Oh, you fixed it?
You're sleeping here tonight.
Johnny, when I go down the cellar, what do you think I find?
What?
The Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal.
It's a hole Teddy dug. It just fits Mr. Spinello. 6 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Down there?
You think they knew we were bringing Mr. Spinello along? That's hospitality.
Rather a good joke on my aunts. Them living in the house with a body buried in the cellar.
How do we get him in?
Yes. We can't just walk him in through the door. After my aunts have gone to bed, we'll bring the car up behind the house and bring Spinello in through the window.
Bed, just think. We got a bed tonight.
Easy, doctor. Remember, you're operating tomorrow. This time you better be sober.
I fixed you up beautiful.
And if you don't,
Jonathan, your room is ready.
then you two can go to bed. We're bringing the car up behind the house.
What are we going to do about Mr. Hoskins?
I don't know, but we'd better get Mr. Hoskins downstairs right away.
Abby, I will not invite Jonathan to the funeral services.
Oh, no. We'll wait until after they've gone to bed and then come down and hold services.
General Corporals was very pleased with the new canal. He says it's just the right size.
Teddy, there's been another yellow fever victim.
Oh, dear me. This will be a shock to the General.
Then we mustn't tell him about it.
But it's his department.
No, Teddy, we mustn't tell him. It would just spoil his visit.
I'm sorry, Aunt Abby. It's out of my hands. Army regulations, you know.
But, Teddy, we must keep it a secret.
State secret?
Yes, a state secret.
Promise?
Oh, you have the word of the President of the United States. Cross my heart, hope to die. Pooh. Now, how will we keep it a secret?
Well, Teddy, you go back down into the cellar, and when I turn off the lights, you come up and take the poor man down to the canal. Now, go along, Teddy.
And we'll come down later and hold services.
Where is the poor devil?
He's in the window seat.
It seems to be spreading. We've never had yellow fever there before.
Martha, when Jonathan and Dr. Einstein come back, let's see if we can get them to go to bed right away.
Yes. Then by the time they're asleep, we'll be ready for the funeral. Abby, I've never even seen Mr. Hoskins.
Oh my goodness, that's right, you were out. Well, you just come right over here and see him now. He's really very nice looking, considering he's a Methodist.
We're bringing the luggage through here.
Jonathan, your room's waiting. You can go right up.
Then you two can run along to bed. I'm afraid we don't keep Brooklyn out.
Now you must be very tired, both of you, and we don't go to bed this early.
Well, you should. It's time I came home to take care of you two.
But we don't go to bed.
And Martha, did you hear me say go to bed? The instruments can go up to the laboratory in the morning. Now then, we're all going to bed.
I'll wait till you're up and then turn out the lights.
All right, Aunt Abby.
I'll be right up.
Now, Aunt Abby, turn out the lights.
All right, Johnny.
You go around outside the house and pass Spinalza through.
No, he's too heavy for me. I stay here, well, you go outside and push. Then together we get him down to Panama.
All right, I'll go around and check outside the house. And when I tap on the window, you open it up.
Okay. Left this open. Don't come.
Johnny? Okay, alley-oop.
Wait, lost a leg somewhere. Now I got him. That was me, Johnny. I slipped. Be more careful. Well, the shoe came off. Now I got him, Johnny. Johnny, something at the door. Go quick. I'm unsure. Go quick.
Miss Abby. Miss Martha. Miss Abby. Miss Martha. Who is it? Is that you, Teddy? Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Elaine Parker. I live next door. Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha? What have you done to them?
This is Dr. Einstein,
Dr. Einstein?
a surgeon of great distinction and something of a magician.
And I suppose you're Jonathan?
I see you've heard of me.
Yes, just today for the first time.
And what did they say about me?
Only that there was another brother named Jonathan. That's all that was said. Well, that explains everything. Now that I know who you are, I'll be running along home. If you'll kindly unlock the door.
That explains everything? Just what exactly was that supposed to mean? What are you doing here at this time of night?
I thought I saw someone prowling around the house.
What?
I suppose it was you.
What did you see?
Just someone walking around the house to the car.
What else did you see?
Just that, that's all. That's why I came over here. I wanted to tell Miss Abby to call the police. But if it was you and that's your car, I don't need to bother Miss Abby. I'll be running along.
What was the man doing at the car?
I don't know.
I think you're lying.
I think you tell the truth, Johnny. We let her go now, eh?
She's dangerous, breaking into a house at this time of night.
Ah! Take your hands off me!
Doctor!
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy! Teddy, tell these men who I am!
Oh, that's my daughter, Alice. Charge!
No, Teddy!
Doctor, your handkerchief! The cellar!
What's the matter? What's happening down there?
We caught a burglar. Go back up to your room.
Who called the police?
We've called the police. We'll take care of it. Go back upstairs. should have known better. My God, I'm still there.
It's your brother, Jonathan, and this is Dr. Einstein.
I know this isn't a nightmare, but what is it?
I've come back home, Mortimer.
Who'd you say this was?
It's your brother, Jonathan, dear. He's had his face changed. Dr. Einstein performed the operation.
Jonathan? Jonathan, I always knew you were a horror. Do you have to look like one?
Are you forgetting the things I used to do to you when we were boys, Mortimer? The needles under your fingernails?
My God, it is Jonathan. Yes, I remember. I remember you as the most detestable, vicious, venomous form of animal life I ever knew. Jonathan, you're not wanted here. Get out!
We have been invited to stay.
Not in this house.
We did invite them, just for tonight. We put them in Jonathan's old room.
That's my room. I'm sleeping in that room.
Oh, Mortimer, I'm so glad.
Johnny, please sleep down here. You sleep on the sofa, and I sleep on the window seat.
Window seat? I'll sleep on the window seat. It's good enough for me tonight.
Johnny, all this argument reminds me of Mr. Spinozzo. Spinozzo.
It isn't necessary to inconvenience you like this, Mortimer. We'll sleep down here, really. Jonathan, your sudden consideration for me is very unconvincing.
Come on along, Johnny. We get our things, yeah?
Don't bother, Doctor.
All this commotion has made me think about Mr. Spinozzo, Doctor.
Who is this Mr. Spinozzo, anyway?
Just a friend of ours Johnny's been looking for.
Well, don't bring anyone else in this house.
Don't worry, Johnny. I tell you all about it while we pack.
Mortimer, you don't have to sleep down here tonight. I can go in with Martha and you can take my room.
It's all right, Aunt Abby. We'll be packed and out in a few minutes. Then you can have the room, Mortimer.
You're just wasting your time. I told you, I'm sleeping down here.
Mortimer,
What's the matter, darling?
I've almost been killed.
You've almost been... Abby?
No, it was Jonathan.
He mistook her for a sneak thief. No, it was more than that. He's some kind of maniac. Mortimer, I'm afraid of him.
Why, darling, sit down. You're trembling.
You think maybe some hot tea or coffee?
Coffee. And some for me, too. And some sandwiches. I haven't had any dinner yet.
We'll make something for both of you.
Martha, we can leave our things downstairs here now.
No, you weren't going out somewhere. Do you know what time it is? It's after 12. 12? Elaine, you've got to go home.
What? Why, don't you remember? We're going to make some sandwiches to celebrate your engagement. We'll make something for both of you and open a bottle of wine.
All right. No wine!
Mortimer, what's going on in this house?
What do you mean, what's going on in this house?
You were supposed to take me to dinner in the theater tonight. You called it off. You asked me to marry you, and not 5 minutes later, you threw me out of the house. Tonight, just after your brother tries to strangle me, you want to chase me home. Have you suddenly gone crazy?
It's just a matter of time. You see, insanity runs in my family.
Now, just because Patty is a little...
No, it's the whole family. For instance, take my grandfather. He tried his medicines out on dead people so he wouldn't kill anybody.
He wasn't so crazy. He made $1 million.
And then there's Jonathan. He just said he was a maniac. He tried to kill you.
But he's your brother, not you. I'm in love with you.
And then there's Teddy. He thinks he's Theodore Roosevelt. No, dear, no Brewster should marry him.
Now, darling, all this doesn't prove you're crazy. Look at your aunts. They're Brewsters, aren't they? And the sanest, sweetest people I've ever met.
Well, even they have their peculiarities.
Yes, but what lovely peculiarities. Kindness, generosity, human sympathy.
There's another one.
Oh, what?
You've got to go home.
If you really think going to get out of this, pretending you're insane, you're crazy.
Well, if you love me so much, you'll get the hell out of here. Aunt Abby, here, Martha, come in here.
Yes, dear, what is it? Where's Elaine?
I thought you promised me that you wouldn't let anyone else in this house while I was gone.
Jonathan just
I don't
popped in.
need Jonathan.
Dr. Einstein was
I
like-
don't need Dr. Einstein. Who's that in the window seat?
We told you, Mr. Hoskins.
That is not Mr. Hoskins.
Who can that be? I certainly
Hoskins in this window seat.
Yes, I did, but that man's an imposter, and if he came here to be buried in our cellar, he's mistaken.
Well, he just couldn't have gotten the idea from Mr. Hoskins. Where is Mr. Hoskins?
He must have gone to Panama.
You buried him.
No, not just yet. He's down there waiting for services, poor dear. We haven't had a minute, what with Jonathan in the house. Oh, dear. We've always wanted to hold a double funeral, but I will not read services over a total stranger.
Aunt Abby, how can I believe you? There are 12 men in that cellar, and you admit that you poisoned them.
Yes, I did, but you don't think I'd stoop to telling a fib. Martha!
Oh, Mortimer, I'd like to have a word with you. Well, word's all you'll have time for, Jonathan, because I decided that you and your doctor friend are going to have to get out of this house as soon as possible.
I'm glad you recognize the fact that you and I cannot live under the same roof. So take your bags and get out.
Martha, just look and see what's in that window seat.
Oh, it's Abby. Jonathan, why don't you let Aunt Martha see what's in the window seat? Now, Aunt Abby, I owe you an apology. Jonathan will be leaving soon, and he'll be taking his cold companion with him. Now, Jonathan, I'm going to give you a chance to get out. All right? You'll leave me no choice but to call the police.
Don't reach for that telephone. Are you still giving me orders after seeing what's happened to Mr. Spinalzo?
Spinalzo, I knew he was a foreigner.
What happened to Mr. Spinalzo could happen to you too.
Hello, Miss Abby.
Officer O'Hara, is there something we can do for you?
I saw your lights on and thought there might be sickness in the house. Oh, you have company. I'm sorry I disturbed you.
No, come in.
Yes, come right
Yes, come right in, Officer O'Hara. This is our nephew, Mortimer.
Pleased to meet you.
in. And this is another nephew, Jonathan.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. It must be nice having your nephews visiting you. Are they going to stay for a bit?
I'm staying. My brother is just leaving.
Say, your face looks familiar to me. Maybe I've seen a picture of you somewhere.
I don't think so.
Yes, I'd hurry if I were you, Jonathan. Your things are all packed anyway, aren't they?
Well, I'll be running along.
Hey, wait a minute. We're going to have coffee soon. Won't you join us?
Oh, I forgot the coffee.
And I should make some more sandwiches. I ought to know your appetite by this time, Officer O'Hara.
Don't bother, I'm due to ring in a few minutes.
Hey, sit down. We'll wait for that cup of coffee.
Say, ain't I seen a photograph of your brother around here someplace?
No, he looks like somebody you might have seen in the movies.
I never go to movies. I hate them. My mother says the movies are a bastard art. My mother was an actress, a stage actress. Perhaps you've heard of her. Peaches LaTour. Her big hit was Mutt Jeff. I was born on tour. The third season.
You were?
Yup, Sioux City, Iowa. I was born at the end of the second act, and my mother made the finale.
You know, there must be a good story in your mother. I write about the theater.
You do? Say, you're not Mortimer and Brewster, the dramatic critic.
Yes, why?
I'm a playwright. All this being on the police force is just temporary.
How long have you been on the force?
12 years. I'm collecting material for a play. With all the drama I see being the cops, you have no idea what goes on in Brooklyn.
Oh, I think I have.
Say, what time you got?
About 10 after 1.
Gee, I gotta ring in.
Hey, wait a minute. You know in that play of yours, I might be able to help you out.
You would? Say, it was fate my walking here tonight. Look, I'll tell you the plot.
Oh, you're leaving, eh? Good. You haven't got much time, you know.
Well, everything's just about ready. Oh, you leaving now, Jonathan? Doesn't this case belong to you?
Yes, Jonathan. You can't leave without all of your things. Hey, O'Hara. We'll get together someplace later to talk about that play of yours.
I ain't leaving now. You just offered to help me with my play.
But, O'Hara...
I ain't leaving this house till you hear the plot.
In that case, Mortimer, we'll be running along.
Oh, don't you try that now. You can't leave without everything. Hey, and look, O'Hara. We'll get together someplace later. Now you gotta go ring in.
I can wait. I've been waiting 12 years.
I'm sorry that was so long.
Don't bring that in here. Officer O'Hara, will you join us for a bite in the kitchen?
The kitchen.
Jonathan's leaving.
Oh, well, that's nice. Come along, Officer O'Hara.
Look, Jonathan, I'm glad you came back to Brooklyn. Because this gives me a chance to throw you out. And the first one out with you is your friend, Mr. Spinalzo.
Look, Mr. Brewster, we can talk in here.
Coming right in.
I might have known you'd grow up to try to play with a policeman.
Get out, all three of you.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and me has got to be settled.
Now, Johnny, we got trouble enough. Your brother gets the chance to get away. What more could you ask for?
We're not going. We're sleeping here tonight.
With the cop in the kitchen and Mr. Spinalzo in the window seat?
That's all he's got on us. We'll take Spinalzo down and dump him in the bay. And when we come back, if he tries to interfere
Now,
with...
Johnny.
Doctor!
Okay, if we're coming back, do we gotta take these with us?
No, hide them in the cellar. Move fast. Spinalzo can go out the same way he came in.
Hey, Johnny, come quick.
What's the matter?
You know that hole in the cellar?
Yes?
We got an ace in the hole.
Jonathan! Jonathan! Jonathan!
Yes, Mortimer.
Where have you been? I thought I told you two to get out.
We're not going.
All right, this gets me rid of you and Officer O'Hara at the same time. Officer O'Hara, will you come in here, please?
If you tell O'Hara what's in the window seat, I'll tell him about what's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who seems to be very dead.
What were you doing down in the cellar?
What's he doing down in the cellar?
Thanks, ma'am. They were fine. I've been plenty.
Now what are you going to tell O'Hara?
Look, Mr. Brewster, your aunts want to hear it too. Shall I get them in here?
No. You go. We'll get together someplace later. You gotta go ring in.
The hell with ringing in. I'll get your aunts in here and tell you to fly.
No. You're gonna go ring in. We'll get together someplace later.
How about the back room at Kelly's?
Fine. You go ring in.
Why don't you two go down in the cellar?
That's all right with me.
No. Go ring in. We'll meet at Kelly's.
All right, it'll only take a couple of minutes.
Fine! I'll ditch this guy and be back in 5 minutes. When I get back, I better find you two gone. On second thought, wait for me.
We'll wait for him, Doctor. I've waited a great many years for an opportunity like this.
We got him right where we want him. Boy, did he look guilty.
Take the bags up to our room, Doctor.
Have they gone? Oh, we thought we heard somebody leave.
Oh, that was just Mortimer. He'll be back in a few minutes. Is there any food left in the kitchen? I think Dr. Einstein and I would enjoy a bite to eat.
But you won't have time.
No, if you're still here when Mortimer gets back, he won't like it.
He'll like it. He's gotta like it.
Make us something to eat while we bury Spinalzo.
Oh, no. You can't bury him in our cellar. No, Jonathan, you've got to take him with you.
There's a friend of Mortimer's waiting for him downstairs.
A friend of Mortimer's?
He and Spinalzo should get along fine together. They're both dead.
Oh, they must be Mr. Hoskins.
You know about what's downstairs?
Of course we do. And he's no friend of Mortimer's. Why, he's one of our gentlemen.
You're a gentleman?
Yes, and we will not have strangers buried in our cellar.
But Mr. Hoskins...
Mr. Hoskins isn't a stranger.
Besides, there's no room for Mr. Spinalzo. The cellar's crowded already.
Crowded with what?
There are 12 graves down there now.
12 graves?
That leaves very little room, and we're going to need it.
You mean you and Aunt Martha have murdered all...
Murder? Certainly not. Why, it's one of our charities.
Why, what we're doing is a mercy.
So you just take your Mr. Spinalzo out of here.
You've killed them. Here in this house and buried them in the cellar?
Johnny, you've been chased all over the world. You're going to stay right here and do just as good as you do.
What?
You got 12 and they got 12.
I got 13.
No, Johnny, 12.
13. There's Mr. Spinalzo, the first one in London, 2 in Johannesburg, 1 in Sydney, 1 in San Francisco, 1 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix?
The filling station. 3 in Chicago and 1 in South Bend. That makes 13.
But you can't count the one in South Bend. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have gotten pneumonia if I hadn't shot him.
No, Johnny, he don't count. He died of pneumonia.
He counts with me. I say 13.
No, you got 12 and they got 12. The old ladies are just as good as you are.
Oh, they are they? Well, that's easily taken care of. All I need is 1 more. That's all. 1 more. Well, here I am.
Doing that. This is our house and this is our cellar. You can't do that.
Hey, please, go back upstairs where you belong.
Abby, Martha, go upstairs.
There's no use you're doing what you're doing because it's just gonna have to be undone.
I'm warning you, you better stop it. Has Mortimer come back yet? No. I tell you, it's a terrible thing to do, to bury a good Methodist with a foreigner.
I will not have our cellars desecrated.
And we promised poor Mr. Hoskins a full Christian funeral. Where do you suppose Mortimer went?
All right. Now where's Teddy?
Mortimer, where have you been?
I've been to Dr. Gilchrist. I got his signature on Teddy's commitment papers.
Do you know what Jonathan's doing? He's down there putting Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo in together.
Oh, he is he? Well, let him. Is Teddy up in his room?
Teddy won't be any help.
When he signs these commitment papers, I can tackle Jonathan.
What have they got to do with it?
Well, you had to go and tell him about those 12 graves down in the cellar. If I can make Teddy responsible for those graves, I can protect you. Don't you see?
No, I don't see. And we pay taxes to have the police protect us. Come, Martha. We're going for the police.
The police? You can't go for the police.
Why can't we?
Because if the police find Mr. Spinalzo, they'll find Mr. Hoskins too. And that might make them curious. And they might find the other 12 gentlemen.
Well, if you're not going to do something about Mr. Spinalzo, we are.
I am going to do something. We may have to call the police in time, but when we do, I want to be ready for them. Stay here. I'm going to see Teddy.
Mortimer, if they're not out of this house by morning, we're going to call the police.
They'll be out. I promise you that.
Well, Abby, that's your relief, isn't it?
Yes, if Mortimer's going to do something at last, it just means Jonathan's going to a lot of unnecessary trouble. We'd better tell him. Oh, Jonathan, you might as well stop what you're doing.
It's all done. Did I hear Mortimer?
Well, it will just have to be undone. You're all going to be out of this house by morning. Mortimer's promise.
In that case, you two can run along to bed and have a pleasant night's rest.
Yes, come, Abby.
Good night, Auntie.
Not good night, Jonathan. Goodbye. By the time we get up, you'll be out of this house. Mortimer's promise.
And he has a way of doing it, too.
Then Mortimer is back.
Oh, yes, he's up here talking to Teddy.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Perhaps you better say goodbye to Mortimer.
Oh, you'll see Mortimer.
Yes, I'll see Mortimer.
Nobody ever know they're down there. That bed feels good already. 48 hours to get to sleep. We go up, yeah?
You're forgetting, Doctor.
But,
My brother Mortimer.
Johnny, tonight, we do that tomorrow or the next day.
No, tonight. Now.
But Johnny, I'm tired, and tomorrow I got to operate.
Yes, you're operating tomorrow, but tonight we take care of Mortimer.
Okay, but the quick way, the quick twist like in London.
This calls for something special. I think perhaps the Melbourne method.
No, Johnny, not that. 2 hours, and then it was all over, but the fellow in London was just as dead as the fellow in Melbourne.
We had to work fast in London. There was no aesthetic satisfaction whatsoever. But Melbourne, there was something to remember.
Remember, I wish I didn't. No, Johnny, not Melbourne, not me.
Yes, Doctor, where are your instruments?
I won't do it, Johnny, I won't do it.
Where did you put them?
I
Oh,
won't-
yes.
You hid them in the cellar.
Don't do that, Mr. President!
But I must call a cabinet meeting before I sign any proclamation.
But this must stay a secret.
A secret proclamation? How unusual.
Yes, Japan mustn't know until it's signed.
Japan, those yellow devils. I'll sign it right away. You have my word for it. I can let the cabinet know later.
Yes, let's go and sign it.
A secret proclamation must be signed in secret.
But at once, Mr. President.
I have to put on my signing clothes.
You go now, eh?
No, Doctor, I'm waiting for something. Something's very important.
Please, you must go now.
Dr. Einstein, don't take this personally. You seem like a very nice fellow. But take my advice and get out of this house as soon as you can.
Listen, Johnny's in a bad mood. When he's like this, he's a madman. Things happen. Terrible things.
Jonathan doesn't worry me now.
Kimo, don't those plays you see teach you anything?
Well, what?
Well, at least people in plays act like they got sense. That's more than you do.
Oh, you think so, huh? You think the people in these plays act intelligently? Well, take the little opus I saw tonight, for instance. There's a man. He's supposed to be bright. He's in the house with murderers. He's even been warned to get out. But does he go?
Yeah?
No, he stays there. Now, is that something an intelligent person would do?
You're asking me?
He didn't even have enough sense to be bright. Now, that murderer even asked him to sit down.
You mean, won't you sit down?
Believe it or not, that one was in there too.
And what did he do?
He sat down. Now, let me mind you, this fellow's supposed to be bright. And what do you think they used to tie him up with?
But,
The curtain cord.
well, why not? Very convenient.
A little too convenient. When are playwrights going to use some imagination?
You didn't see him get it?
See him? He sat there with his back to him the whole time. Then they say the critics are killing the theater, when it's the playwrights who are killing the theater. So there he sits, the big dope, waiting to be trussed up and gay. Hey, what's going on here? Hey, what's...
Right about that, fella. He wasn't very bright.
Now, Mortimer, if you don't mind, we'll finish the story. Mortimer, I've been away for 20 years, but never once in all that time, my dear brother, were you out of my mind. While in Melbourne one night, I had a dream, and when I landed in San Francisco, I felt a strange satisfaction. Once again, I was in the same country with you. Let's go to work, Doctor.
Please, Johnny, for me, the quick way.
Doctor, this really must be an artistic achievement. After all, we're performing before a very distinguished critic.
Johnny?
Doctor!
Okay, we get it over with.
All ready for you, Doctor.
I gotta have a drink. I can't do this without a drink.
Pull yourself together, Doctor.
I gotta have a drink. When we walked in here this afternoon, there's wine here, remember? Very simple as that. Look, Johnny, we got ourselves a drink. This is all there is. I split it with you. We both need a drink.
One moment, Doctor, please. Mortimer, I'd like to thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have come back to Brooklyn. Doctor, to my dear dead brother. Ah, God! Damn that idiot! He goes next. That's all. He goes next.
No, Johnny, not Teddy. That's right, stop. Not Teddy.
We get to him next. Now we have to work fast.
Yeah, the quick way, eh, Johnny?
Yes, the quick way.
Hey, the colonel's gotta quit blowing that horn.
It's all right, officer. We're taking the bugle away from it.
I better speak to myself. Where are the lights? Hey, you stood me up. I waited an hour at Kelly's for you. Oh, what happened to him?
He was explaining the play the other night. That's what happened to the fella in the play.
Gee, they practically stole that from the second act of my play. Why, in my second act, just before I'd better begin at the beginning. It opens in my mother's dressing room, where I was born. Only I ain't born yet. Huh? Oh yeah. No, you've got to hear the plot. There she is making up scene. When, all of a sudden, through the door, the man with the black mustache walks in. Turns to my mother and says, Miss Latour, will you marry me? He doesn't know she's pregnant. Across the table in the lingerie. He was standing over with the hatchet. I'm tied up just like you are. The place is in infernal flames. It's on fire. When, all of a sudden, through the window, in comes Mayor Woodwardia. Hey, remember who paid for that? Go easy on it.
Well, I'm listening, ain't I?
How do you like it so far?
Well, just what time, Steve?
You don't want. You ain't got no more interest in that. You don't get a drink. All right, it's 3 days later, and I'm transferred them under charges. That's because someone stole my badge. All right, I'm walking my feet, Staten Island, 46th Precinct, one. The guy I'm following, it turns out, is really following me. Don't let anybody in. So I figure all out smart. There's a bacon house on the corner. I goes in.
It's cops.
I stands here in the dark.
Johnny, it's cops, cops.
I pulls my gun, bracing myself against the wall and says, come in. Hello, boys.
What's going on here?
This is Mortimer and Brewster. He's helping me with the play I'm writing. I'm just telling him the story.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen?
The entire divorce is out looking for you.
Did they send you here for me?
We didn't know you was here.
We came to warn the old ladies that there's hell to pay. The colonel blew that bugle again in the middle of the night.
By the way, the neighbors have been calling in about it. You'd think the Germans dropped a bomb on Flatbush Avenue.
Yeah, the lieutenant's on the warpath. He says the colonel's got to be put away someplace.
Say, you know what time it is? It's after 8 o'clock in the morning.
It is? Gee, Mr. Brewster, them first 2 acts run a little long. But I don't see anything we can leave out.
You can leave it all out.
Who the hell's this guy?
Oh, that's my brother.
The one that ran away? So he came back?
Yeah, he came back.
This is Brophy. Get me Matt. I better let them know we found you, Joe. Matt, tell the lieutenant he can call off the big man hunt. We got him here in the Brewster house. Do you want us to bring him in? Oh, all right, we'll hold him right here. The lieutenant's on his way over.
So I've been turned in, eh? All right, you've got me. I suppose you and that stool pigeon brother of mine will split the reward.
Reward?
All right, I'm gonna do some turning in of my own. You think my answer's sweet, charming old ladies? Well, I've got news for you. There's 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Teddy, Teddy!
What the hell are you talking about?
You better be careful what you say about your aunts. They happen to be friends of ours.
I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. Come down to the cellar.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'll show you where they're buried.
Oh, yeah?
You don't want to see what's down in the cellar?
Go on down the cellar with him, Abe.
I'm not so sure I'd want to be down in the cellar with him. Look at that face. He looks like Boris. Hey, wow, be careful with me! Oh, what was that about?
Come in.
What the hell are you men doing here? I told you I was going to handle this.
Well, sir, we was just about to.
What happened? Did he put up a fight?
Well, this ain't the guy that blows the bugle. This is his brother. He tried to kill Klein.
All I said is he looked like Boris Karloff.
Turn him over.
See, we kind of think he's wanted somewhere.
Oh, you kind of think he wants If you guys don't read the circulars we hang up in the station, at least you can read True Detective. Certainly he's wanted. In Indiana. Escaped from the prison for the criminally insane. He's a lifer. For God's sakes, that's how he was described. He looks like Karloff!
Was reward mentioned?
Yeah, and I'm claiming it.
He was trying to get us down the cellar.
He said there was 13 bodies down there.
13 bodies in the cellar, huh? And that didn't tip you off that he came out of a nut house?
I thought all along you talked kind of crazy.
Oh, it's Shakespeare. Where have you been all night?
You needed to bother to tell. I've been right here, sir, ready to play with Mortimer and Brewster.
Yeah, we're gonna have plenty of time to write that play. You are suspended. Now get back and report in.
Can I come over sometime and use the station typewriter?
No! Get out of here! Take that guy somewhere else and bring him too. See what you can find out about his accomplice. He's wanted too. No wonder Brooklyn's in the shape it's in with a police force full of flatheads like you. Falling for that kind of story. 13 bodies in the cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
Who are you?
I am President Roosevelt.
What the hell is this?
Good morning.
Well, Colonel, you've blown your last bugle.
Dear me, is this another yellow fever victim?
What?
All the bodies in the cellar are yellow fever victims.
No, Colonel, this is a spy we caught in the White House.
Will you get that guy out of here?
If there's any questioning of spies, that's my department.
You keep out of this.
You're forgetting, as President of the United States, I'm also head of the Secret Service.
Captain, I'm Mortimer Brewster. I'd like to talk to you about my brother, Teddy, the one who blows the bugle.
Mr. Brewster, he's got to be put away.
I quite agree with you. In fact, it's all arranged for. I've had these papers signed by Dr. Gilchrist, our family physician. And I've signed them next of kin.
Where's he going?
Happydale.
Okay, I don't care where he goes, as long as he goes.
Oh, he's going all right. And I'd just like to let you know that everything that has happened around here, Teddy's responsible for. And all those 13 bodies, that's another thing.
Yeah, those 13 bodies in the cellar. It ain't enough that the neighbors are all afraid of him, and he's disturbing the peace with that bugle. But can you imagine what would happen if that story about the 13 bodies got around? And now he's starting a yellow fever scare. Cute, ain't it?
Yeah. Who would believe that story about 13 bodies anyway?
I don't know. Some people are just dumb enough. About a year ago, crazy guy starts a rumor over in Greenpoint. I had to dig up a half-acre lot just to prove that.
Will you excuse me, please?
Good morning, Mortimer.
Well, good morning, dear.
This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's come to meet Teddy. Mr. Witherspoon's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, come on in. This is Captain Lieutenant.
I'm glad you're here, Super, because you're taking him back with you today.
Today? I didn't know
Not
that.
today.
Elaine, I've got a lot of business to attend to, so you run along home and I'll call you off.
Nuts.
I had no idea it was this immediate.
The papers are all signed. He goes today.
Complete insubordination! You men will find a no mollycoddle. When the President of the United States is treated like this, what's this country coming to?
There's your man, Super.
Just a minute, please. Mr. President, I have very good news for you. Your term of office is now over.
Is this March the 4th?
Practically.
Let's see. Oh! Now I can go on that hunting trip to Africa. Is he moving in the White House before I moved out?
Who, Teddy?
Taft!
Oh! This is not Mr. Taft. This is Mr. Witherspoon. He'll be your guide to Africa.
Oh, splendid! Bully! Bully! I'll bring down my equipment right away. When the safari comes, tell him to wait. Goodbye, Aunt Abby. Goodbye, Aunt Martha. I'm going to Africa. Isn't it wonderful? Charge!
Good morning, dear.
Oh, we have visitors.
Yes, this is Lieutenant Rooney.
How do you do, Lieutenant? My, you don't look like the fuss budget the policemen say you are.
While the lieutenant is here, you know, Teddy blew his bugle again last night.
Yes, we're going to speak to Teddy about that.
A little bit more serious than that, Miss Brewster.
Oh, you haven't met Mr. Witherspoon. He's the superintendent of Happydale.
Mr. Witherspoon, how do you do? You've come to meet Teddy?
He's come to take him.
Yes,
The police want him to go there today.
Oh, no.
Not while we're alive.
I'm sorry, ladies, but the law is the law. He's committed himself and he's going.
Well, if he goes, we're going too.
Yes, you have to take us with him.
Well, why not?
Well, that's certainly nice of them to want to, but you see, you can't take sane people at Happy Dale.
Mr. Witherspoon, if you'll let us go with Teddy, we'll make sure that Happy Dale's in our will, and for a very generous amount.
Well, Lord knows we could use the money, but I'm afraid...
Now let's be sensible about this, ladies. For instance, here, I'm wasting my morning when I've got serious work to do. You know, there are still murders to be solved in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, there are?
It ain't only his bugle blowing and the neighbors are all afraid of him, but sooner or later I'd have to be put to the test of digging up your cellar.
Our cellar?
Yeah, your nephew's been telling around that there are 13 bodies in their cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in our cellar.
If that's why you think Teddy has to go away, you come down to the cellar with us, and we'll prove it to you.
There's one, Mr. Spinalzo, who doesn't belong here and who will have to leave, but the other 12 are ours.
I don't think the lieutenant wants to dig up our cellar. He was just telling me that last year he had to dig up a half-an-acre lot. Weren't you, Lieutenant?
That's right.
Well, you wouldn't have to dig here. The graves are all marked. We put flowers on them every Sunday.
Flowers? Superintendent, don't you think you could find room for these ladies?
Well,
You come along with us. We'll show you the
I'll
graves.
take your word for it, lady. How about it, Super?
well, they'd have to be committed.
Wait a minute. Teddy committed himself. Can't they commit themselves? Can't they sign their papers?
Why, yes.
Oh, if we can go with Teddy, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
Yes, where are they?
Lieutenant, he's coming around.
Good morning, Mr. Klein.
Good morning, Mr. Klein. Are you here too?
Yeah, me and Brovey got your other nephew out in the kitchen.
You'll sign right here.
And you right here, Aunt Abby.
Now hurry up, hurry up. I want to get this all taken care of as fast as possible. 13 bodies.
I'm really looking forward to going. The neighborhood here has changed so.
Just think, a front lawn again.
Oh, wait. We're overlooking something.
What?
We're going to need the signature of a doctor.
Dr. Einstein! Will you come over and sign some papers for us? Please, I must. No, it's for us, Doctor. At one point last night, I thought the doctor was going to operate on me. You sign right here, Doctor.
Were you leaving, Doctor?
I think I must go.
Aren't you going to wait for Jonathan?
I don't think we're going to the same place. Why, hello, Elaine. Stick around, huh?
Don't worry, I'm going to.
Hello, Mac. Rudy, we picked up the guy that's wanted in Indiana. Now, there's a description of his accomplice. It's right there on the desk. Read it to me. 5'10", 140 pounds. Brown eyes. Has a German accent. Poses as a doctor. Thanks, Mac.
It's all right, Lieutenant. The doctor here has just completed the signatures.
Thanks, Doc. You're really doing Brooklyn a service.
Now, Mr. Brewster, you sign here as next of kin.
Of course. Now, this makes everything final. Everything legal?
Oh, yes.
There you are, aunties. Now you're safe.
When will you be ready to start?
Well, Mr. Witherspoon, why don't you go upstairs and tell Teddy just what he can take along?
Oh, upstairs?
Yes, right this way. I'll show you.
No, Mortimer, you stay here. We want to talk to you. Yes, Mr. Witherspoon, just upstairs and turn to the left.
Well, Mortimer, now this house really is yours.
Yes, dear, we want you to live here now.
No, Aunt Abby. This house is just too full of memories.
But you'll need a home once you and Elaine are married.
Oh, now that's very indefinite.
It's nothing of the kind. We're going to be married right away.
Mortimer, we're really very worried about something.
Why, darling, you're gonna love it at Happy Dale.
Oh, yes, we're very happy about the whole thing.
Will they investigate those signatures?
Don't worry. They'll never look up Dr. Einstein.
It's not his signature, dear. It's yours.
You see, you signed as next of kin.
Yes, of course. Why not?
Well, you see, dear, it's something we never wanted to tell you. But now you're a man, and Elaine should know too. You see, dear,
really a Brewster. Your mother came to us as a cook, and you were born about 3 months afterwards. But see, she was such a sweet woman and such a good cook, we didn't want to lose her, so brother married her.
So, I'm not really a Brewster?
Now, don't feel badly about it, dear. And Elaine, it won't make any difference to you.
Elaine, do you hear? Do you understand? I'm a bastard!
I think I'll go start breakfast. Mortimer's coming over to my house. Father's going to Philadelphia, and we're going to have breakfast together.
Yes, I need some coffee. I've had quite a night.
In that case, I think you want to get to bed.
Oh, I do.
One moment, Witherspoon. Take this with you.
We won't need the wagon. My car's right up front.
Oh, are you leaving now, Jonathan?
Yeah, he's going back to Indiana. There's some people there that want to take care of him for the rest of his life.
Well, Jonathan, it's nice to know you have someplace to go. Yes, we're leaving too. Yes, we're going to Happydale.
Then this house has seen the last of the Brewsters.
Unless Mortimer wants to live here.
I have a suggestion to make. Why don't you turn the property over to the church?
Well, we never thought of that.
After all, it should be part of the cemetery.
Now let's get going. I'm a busy man.
Goodbye, aunties. The score stands even, 12 to 12. At least I have that satisfaction.
Jonathan always was a mean boy. Never could stand to see anyone get ahead of him. I wish we could show him he isn't so smart. Mr. Witherspoon, does your family live with you in Happydale?
I have no family.
Well, then I suppose you consider everyone at Happydale your family.
I don't think you quite understand. You see, as head of the institution, I'm forced to keep quite aloof.
That must make it very lonely for you.
It does, but my duty is my duty.
Well, Martha, if Mr. Witherspoon won't join us for breakfast, I think we should at least offer him a glass of elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine?
We make it ourselves.
Why, yes. Of course, at Happydale, our relationship will be much more formal. But here, elderberry wine, you don't see much of it nowadays. Thought I'd had my last glass.
Oh, no. No, here it is.
pose for you if you would like to have some pictures taken.